Hi, so if I had to deploy, this is the kit that I would bring with me. And inside of this kit, I'll show you what I've got in here. I have my Microsoft Surface, which is the computer for being able to send Winlink traffic. My primary station when I set it up is going to be HF. So I've got the Chameleon F-Loop 3.0 with the double coil. So I can do HF and short section of coax that's ready to go with the ferrites in line for it. That'll go onto the mag loop. There's another portion of the mag loop. It's the inner coil for it. So I'll rig that up in a second. And then I do carry in the side pocket a small portable tripod. So I'll set this up here in just a second for me to do HF. I also have in here, this is my ICOM 705 kit. This is the full complete kit to get myself on the air quickly. I just start off with the 705 and operate QRP. But if I need to operate with more power, that's when I would go ahead and deploy my LEFS antenna, which I keep here. This is the 40 to 10 meter. And I've got a longer length of coax in here. If I'm going to do that, I also carry the Elecraft 100 watt amp, so I could get up to 100 watts on that. And then I have a much larger Bioenno 30 amp hour battery. But I'll leave those in here for right now and just set up the magnetic loop antenna. That's the whole antenna setup. Now I can operate in this configuration from 20 meters to 80 meters. So in this bag, I've got my 705. I keep a small battery. This is a 2.5 amp hour battery. This is the USB-C to USB-C cable by DigiRig. So power-wise, I'll just connect power poles. I'll go ahead and launch VARA HF. Usually when I'm operating for HF, I'm planning to use NVIS. I make sure that I've downloaded my channel map fairly recently. And instead of going to the channel selection and looking for what it suggests, I know kind of where my antenna should be able to get to. So I'll bring up that map and I'll look and see what the propagation is looking like distance-wise. And I'm usually going to go to an area that's out a couple of 100 miles. So maybe I'll try and connect to the station in Vegas. I might need to try and connect to some of the stations up in Sacramento, maybe even out in Utah. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and select this station here in Las Vegas. What I'll typically do, I'll turn up my preamp to fully on, and I will turn my RF gain all the way up. So I've got the full signal here, and I'm going to zoom my span of my signal out fairly far so I can see a wide range of the spectrum. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach over and turn this dial until I can find where the signal is located. There it is. So here we can see I'm pretty close to in the range, and I'm just looking to get the main part of my signal as tight as I can. Now what I'll do is I'll zoom in a little tighter to an area that's kind of in the band like there. I'm going to turn my RF gain down. I don't need to be that high. Turn it down to kind of a medium level, about 50%. I'm going to go into the menu and I'm going to go to the SWR meter so I can see where I'm at. And I'm just going to run a sweep of checking for tune, and I'll just key the mic a few times. And it looks like I actually got right on the top. So I'm on this tuning on 30 meters, I'm at maybe about 1.6 to 1, which is plenty good for being able to send this traffic. So I'm just going to go back over. I'm going to go to my meter page. So I've got everything set up there. And what we're hearing is that little bit of noise that's right in there. That's actually okay. And I'm going to come up here and let's see if we can get a hold of this station. Channel showing 3. It's trying to make a connection, and let's see if we can get to this gateway. You know what? How much power am I using? Yeah, I'm using 10 watts right now. Now this is going to take a little bit of trial and error to be able to find exactly the station that you're able to hit via HF. So it might take me a couple of tries to find the one that's going to work. Oh, we got a connection. First try. I'll even turn up the volume so you can hear a little bit more of what's going on. So we are able to get to that station right there with a pretty decent connection on HF. Come over here and look. So this is a range of 425 kilometers. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and dial this in because the loop is directional. So I could rotate it to try and get a little bit better signal if I needed. But since we're using NVIS, the direction doesn't matter anywhere near as much. So it's going to do the full handshake. It's going to check and see. I just downloaded all of the traffic, so there shouldn't be any other traffic on this. You can even see here my ALC is kind of perfect. It's only going up about 1/3 of the range right here. It's in a really good spot for being able to send the traffic. And it ended the session. So now let me go ahead and compose the message so that I can send that traffic out. Just going to come over here and bring up a new message. Here we go. So the station is answering. Now, why I like to generally use HF to be able to send emergency traffic like this, if you're in a disaster area, likely the nearby gateways that you can hit via VHF or UHF may also be in the disaster zone. You may not be able to get traffic through them if they're not hybrid gateways where you can send VHF traffic in and it would go out via HF. You might not be able to get your traffic out of the area to be able to connect out. So by setting up for HF, I'm doing a connection that's about 300 miles away, and I can be sure that that's more than likely outside of the disaster zone. If I needed to go even further outside of the disaster zone, inside of my kit, I have that LEFS 10 to 40 antenna. I could string that up, I could hook up the 100-watt amp, and then I could send traffic via a longer range, or still use that as an NVIS communication. But just getting this small footprint of an antenna, this can be set up pretty much anywhere and be able to have HF communication, which is why this has really become my go-to antenna for doing HF Winlink via NVIS, especially when I'm dealing with low power. So we're still sending the traffic, and this might take just a few minutes for it to go ahead and send that message. It's always a lot slower sending traffic over HF than it is sending that traffic via VHF or UHF, just because you're going to end up with a little more signals, especially when you're kind of doing it in this fashion.